Hey everyone, this is Asbed Bedrossian,
And this is Hovik Manucharyan.
and we are doing a daily touch base with Gev Iskajyan on the latest conditions during the Artsakh blockade. Gev is with the ANC in Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh, and he lives in Stepanakert. Today is January 19, 2023. Hey Gev, what's up today?
How are you, Gev, doing?
Hey guys, hope you're doing well. So a few days ago, they cut off the gas for a couple of hours. Now it's been cut off for about 48 hours straight. We've lost it here for 2 days in a row.
Absolutely no gas and no heating for like 2 days now?
Yes, and on top of that, some of our concerns. If you guys remember, we were talking about the electric grid being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Today, we took a massive hit. There was no electricity for a good 6 hours here.
What are the consequences of something like this? What's going on with heating schools,
Yeah.
buildings everywhere?
Yeah, so for the regular person's perspective, for folks in the diaspora, when we don't have heat here, when we don't have gas here, there's few critical things that take a hit. One, a lot of the cars actually operate on gas power. So to find a taxi for people to drive, if you look through the streets of Stepanakert today, you'll see very few cars driving.
Yeah.
On top of that, we're again in the middle of winter. Homes being heated are a huge problem. People converting to the electric grid actually creates a worse problem because we already have a finite amount.
Right.
And the grid takes a hit. And even like small, like livelihood things, like the water is freezing cold. Taking a shower in a 0 degree temperature water is not very fun.
No.
And that's basically what over 120,000 people are facing on a larger level, on a societal level. Something that's very difficult to muster is the fact that 30,000 kids are now going to be deprived of an education
Hmm.
until we can get the gas up and running. Because if we're talking about 0 degree temperatures, we have all these kids in the schools that don't have the adequate heating. So because of that, they've announced that today all of the schools are going to be dismissed until we can guarantee that we can have proper heating for the kids.
That's already bad enough, but how do bakeries operate?
That's a good question. I was just talking to a few folks today that run a couple of bakeries. Some of them have very little gas supplies left. Some of them were operating, some of them weren't. And now they're faced with this difficult decision. Do they utilize whatever leftover gas that they have in reserves to bake bread today? And then you're talking about the electricity
Yeah.
being off and the gas being off. So people can't cook at home. So those bakeries, it's even more important to produce bread. So it's
Yeah.
between that decision of making sure that they can feed folks when there is no electricity either to use for their electric stoves, or do they sparse out whatever little they have remaining to be able to, let's say this goes on a week, to at least provide the minimum amount of bread for the population. So some have decided to close shop so that they can sparse it out, and some are just relying on the will of God that hopefully it opens up and they can provide enough bread for the population for yesterday and today.
Are you aware of processes at the government level to get this gas problem back on track?
The government negotiations I can't really speak on because those things are very fluid, but there's been some promising signs in terms of statements from not just Russia, but also the West, the EU, Canada. They've made more forceful statements than before. Now, I'm not like overtly optimistic to say that's going to change something, but if someone were to ask me in this 40 days, when have we seen the most movement? I would say in this past week.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
Gev, with regard to the electricity line, we know that that line is basically blocked in the area where those fake eco-terrorists, or actually real eco-terrorists and fake eco-activists are.
Yeah.
There is a new line being constructed to bypass those terrorists. Are you aware of the situation in getting a bypass electrical line to
Well,
Stepanakert?
what I do know is they haven't allowed us any access to fix that. If there is a new line in the works, those things take quite a bit of time to put up. And I'll work on getting some information to provide for you guys in the coming days.
Yeah, because I heard mixed messages too that it may be any day now that at least that bypass portion is completed, even though I couldn't get a verification of that. So it'd be nice for our listeners tomorrow to, I guess, understand if there's any hope of I don't know what that means. Basically, we bypass and then they may think of something else to disrupt somewhere else. But at least bypassing that region seems astute right now.
Yeah, I'll work on it in the next 24 hours and give you guys an update tomorrow.
That's great. Okay. All right. I think I'm done.
Hey, Asbed, before we go, I wanted to comment on the tragic incident at the military barracks today in the Gegharkunik province. Essentially, 15 Armenian soldiers died in what the authorities claim is a fire. I believe the investigation is still ongoing, but just looking at if it is even confirmed to be a fire, just looking at the conditions that these soldiers were living in is, it's mind-boggling, and this is in juxtaposition to statistics from the Ministry of Defense that last year's budget was not completed by 54%. So they had the money, they were able to spend it on creating new outposts and improving existing ones, and they still didn't do that. I think that in any way you look at it, I don't want to focus on politics too much, but in any way you look at it, this is yet another judgment on the Pashinyan administration for allowing this to happen, even if it's confirmed to be something else other than a fire. You know, we're all interested in finding out the causes of this, but the fact that immediately some lower level military leaders were sacked, whereas in my opinion, the defense minister and the prime minister face direct responsibility for this is, I guess, just a continuation of the finger pointing that this government does. But, I think that people should be vigilant and demand real change after this. If not for the war, if not for a multitude of other things, but we're losing soldiers in peacetime. We're losing soldiers outside of combat. And I don't know how long the society can take that kind of damage.
Yeah, our condolences go to the families of these soldiers. But until we get over this, I'm going to hold my comments.
Yeah, it's tragic.
Okay, Gev, we'll talk
Bye,
to you
Gev.
tomorrow. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.